Good afternoon, dear viewers. Time for Channel 2 English News. President Iftitah al-Sisi on Monday received the credentials of 23 new ambassadors to the Arab Republic of Egypt. The presidential spokesman, Ambassador Mohammed al-Shinnawi, said the president welcomed the new ambassadors, expressing wishes they will be successful in fulfilling their missions in Egypt. President al-Sisi stressed Egypt is interested in boosting bilateral relations with their respective countries in different fields, as well as holding continuous consultations over regional and international issues. Prime Minister Mustafa Madbouli said the role of the National Sovereign Fund is closely followed up in order to maximize benefits of state-owned assets that are being transferred into the fund. The Prime Minister's remarks were made at a meeting with Engineer Hassan Al-Khatib, Minister of Investment and Foreign Trade, that reviewed the fund's role in the revival of Cairo area and ministries' quarters. The meeting reviewed the fund role in attracting joint investments in state assets, enhancing benefits of state-owned companies, and offering larger opportunity for the private sector to contribute to economic development. And Egypt renewed its firm rejection to any attempt to displace Palestinians in Gaza Strip or relocate them to any place outside the Palestinian territory, stressing that such displacement amounts to liquidation of Palestinian cause and would represent a grave threat to Egyptian national security. In a statement, the State Information Service refuted allegations fanned by some media outlets over linking Egypt's acceptance of the Palestinian displacement with receiving financial assistance, stressing that Egypt's foreign policy in general never depended on exchanging the Egyptian and Arab interests for any return. The SIS said Egypt's 75-year-old stance regarding the Palestinian cause remained firm in protecting, preserving the Arab national security and rights of Palestinian people. And the Israeli military air attacks across Gaza Strip killed at least 60 Palestinians during the last 24 hours, most of them in southern cities of Khan Yunis and Rafah. Palestinian medics said one of the strikes targeted the surgery department at Nasser Hospital in Khan Yunis on Sunday, killing 5 people. Hamas said Ismail Barhoum, a member of its political office, had been killed in the attack. Some of those killed on Sunday were leaving Rafah upon Israeli evacuation orders, as the Israeli occupation had sent some of its tanks in a fresh ground offensive. Palestinian health officials in Gaza said Israel has killed nearly 700 Palestinians since it resumed attacks on Gaza last Tuesday, ending 8 weeks of relative calm. After a ceasefire in January, they said the death included at least 400 women and children. Palestinian and international officials also warned about the risk of new hunger crisis as Israel blocked the entry of goods into Gaza since 2nd of March. The head of the United Nations Agency on Palestinian Refugee, UNRWA, Philippe Lazzarini, said every day without food inches Gaza closer to an acute hunger crisis, banning aid. It's a collective punishment on Gaza. The vast majority of its population are children, women, and ordinary men. And Doctors Without Borders announced on Monday the extremely precarious situation of Palestinians displaced by ongoing Israeli military operation in the occupied West Bank. According to the United Nations, some 40,000 residents have been displaced since January 21st, when the Israeli army launched an operation in the north of the territory 2 days after it silenced its guns in Gaza. The NGO said Palestinians are without proper shelter, essential services, and access to health care. The mental health situation is alarming. MSF said the scale of forced displacement and destruction of camps has not been seen in decades in the West Bank. And the European Union's foreign policy chief Kaja Kallas warned on Monday during a visit to Israel that Israel's strikes on Syria and Lebanon threaten to worsen the situation. At a joint news conference with Israeli Foreign Minister, she said the military actions must be proportionate and Israeli strikes into Syria and Lebanon risk further escalation. Kallas is in Israel and will be in the occupied Palestinian territory of the West Bank later today to press for an immediate resumption of Gaza ceasefire agreement. She said Israel's military offensive has caused an appalling loss of life, adding that Israel must respect civilian lives and that threats to annex parts of Gaza were unacceptable. U.S. and Russian officials opened talks in Saudi Arabia on Monday on a partial ceasefire in Ukraine war, with the two sides having proposed different plans for temporary ceasefires. The talks, which followed U.S. negotiations with Ukraine in Saudi Arabia on Sunday, come as U.S. President Donald Trump intensifies his drive to end three-year-old conflict after he last week spoke to both Ukrainian Presidents Volodymyr Zelensky and Russian President Vladimir Putin. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov said the main focus in talks with the United States would be possible resumption of a 2022 Black Sea grain deal that ensured safe navigation for Ukrainian farm exports via Black Sea. Well, dear viewers, that's all for the top stories. Thank you for watching.